So hi everyone, we're at Syn Studio, we're at the Comic Con.
Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue au Comic Con avec Syn Studio.
Hi, I'm Geof Isherwood, comic book artist and work in films doing storyboards and concept work. And I have been teaching at Syn Studio for the past 3 years, did a course in comic books and taught a course in constructive figure drawing. Comics was something that I decided when I was 10 years old that I wanted to draw. So I just kept working at it, kept drawing them, and eventually visited the offices of Marvel, and after 6 years of visiting on an annual basis, I finally got a crack at drawing some stories, and that soon turned into a full-time job. I had obviously prepared well enough to work as a professional. I would say the main thing is just work on your drawing in general and in a variety of styles. Don't lock yourself up into doing things one way. And also nowadays, if you're able to learn some digital stuff and to work especially in 3D, that really helps. Because myself, I'm a 2D guy, and so I am perhaps somewhat limited in terms of either comics or film or especially animation and video games. But you really want to have a good solid background in actual drawing, because that will just elevate your skills to a much higher level and make you more of a valuable commodity. I have to say I'm so used to pencil and ink. I'm very comfortable with that. Painting is a lot of fun. It's difficult to do really well. I could drop everything and do sculpture all the time very easily. But just that working in 3D and working that way is a lot of fun. Again, it's very difficult to do well, but it's whatever is necessary to make the picture. Well, drawing for Marvel, I love drawing the Conan stories, especially, and Doctor Strange. I would have to say those were my two favorites. And for film, it was a lot of fun working with Darren Aronofsky on The Fountain, working on Barney's version. Being a local Montreal story is a lot of fun. And I have to admit that X-Men Days of Future Past this spring was probably the highlight, because I was able to bring a lot of my comic book experience to the project, and also to try and inspire everybody else who was not that familiar with comics, who understanding the approach, the way of thinking in terms of doing comics. So I tried to get that idea across. I was working with the second unit director, Brian Smurs, who had come off of Iron Man 3, so he got it. He understood very well, so we worked very well together. He could describe the actions that he wanted for the big fight scenes, and I was able to draw them, and he acted them out, so because he is a stuntman.
Starkings. I'm the writer and creator of Elephant Men from Image Comics, which recently hit issue 50. 2000 AD gave a lot of British creators stars, including myself as a lettering artist. This is where we get Dave Gibbons, who did Watchmen. It's where we get Brian Bolland, who's famous for The Killing Joke, Batman The Killing Joke, and Kevin O'Neill, who now does The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Alan Moore. And it was like our Marvel Universe. I got started in comics the way most people do, just by making comics for myself, drawing, writing comics that combine Doctor Who, UFO, and my favorite TV shows at the time. And then I started doing gag strips for Doctor Who fanzines. I am a Doctor Who fan for many, many years. I'm a year older than the show. Once I started doing the comic strips, I realized that I was quite competent at doing the lettering. I sent samples of my lettering to various publishers in London, and got a job here and there, and eventually got a job on staff at Marvel Comics in the UK. Loved a newspaper strip called The Perishers. It's kind of like a British version of Peanuts, but much more illustrative. It was drawn by an incredible cartoonist called Dennis Collins, and he did his own lettering in ink. He inked his strip, he lettered it, and there was something very versatile about his lettering that I admired. So when I did my Doctor Who gag strips, they were modelled on the Perishes. When I was at college, and just after college, an illustrator called Posey Simmons, who's best known for Tamara Drew, which is a graphic novel serialized in the Guardian newspaper and turned into a movie. So Tamara Drew and also Gemma Bovary, based on Madame Bovary, and she's an incredible cartoonist. A lot of social observation. I describe her as the Jane Austen of British comic strips. And that was the kind of stuff I wanted to imitate and emulate. That when I draw my own strips, that's what inspired me. But my brother was a collector of Marvel and DC comics. My brother's 12 years older than me, and he had thousands of Marvel and DC. But he stacked the Marvel books. He had floor-to-ceiling shelves. The Marvel books were on the lower shelves. The DC were on the higher ones. So I read the Marvel ones because I could reach them. I do love the Fantastic Four. I love the Thing. My character Hip Flask is very much my version of the Thing, if you like. They're not similar in their origins. They're not similar in anything other than they're big guys with a heart of gold. The Elephant Men are human-animal hybrids. They were designed to fight a war between Africa and China. A terrible and bloody war was fought, but ultimately they're defeated, rehabilitated, and now they live amongst us. And it's really the story of Hip Flask, who's the kind of central character that you see on this poster down here. Hip Flask is rehabilitated, lives in Los Angeles. He works for the information agency, which is like the FBI. There's a zebra who's a cop. There's a rhino who's a crime lord tycoon. His beautiful fiancée, Mickey, skycab driver, vanity case, agent in training. Even though I'm not writing a superhero book, I like to think I'm writing an American comic book with a British sensibility. So it is a dystopian noir world. It's pulp science fiction, as I like to call it. It's really about the stranger in a strange land. I do little doodles and I send basic layouts to my artists. When I'm working on a cover piece, I'll discuss it with an artist. I love the collaborative nature of comic books. My artists work in Photoshop with watercolor, some of them work with Copic markers. I do like working with artists that do everything. Pencils, inks and colors, like Ladrone or Boo Cook, who's our cover artist and has done some interior pages, and Axel Medellin, who's the current artist on the book, and he's amazing. He'll draw anything I ask him to do. He describes himself as a bit of a masochist, and he will draw a cityscape that you just can't believe he drew in a couple of days. So